everyone. So I'm Evin Nazya, and today I'm here with Maryellen.
Hello.
We decided that we wanted to have a conversation based on a WhatsApp conversation we actually had, and it was about finding your niche and knowing what to create when you're like a multidisciplinary creative. And I actually went to her first, and after we had the conversation, she was like, wait, maybe we should have this for a video. So we're gonna try and recreate the vibes that we had in the conversation.
I feel like vibes can never be truly recreated, but like it was such a good convo and it related to both of us so much that we were like, we have to share this because this is so valuable. I know I have struggled with this for like literally my whole adult life, knowing what my niche is and like what to create and when and all that stuff, and you just get like so in your head about it. So yeah, let's just dive right in. Yeah.
Right, so let me just give some context. So like I came to you and I was like, hey, you're so consistent with your content, and again, for context, I did YouTube for like 5 years, in like on and off, definitely was not consistent. I was interested in doing fitness, but then I was also interested in faith, but also introspection, and it was just like so many things going on. And then being an artist, recording music, and I just felt like I didn't have a focus, like what is the point of my channel? So I feel like I just kind of lost that zest, I guess, for creating. I needed more of a vision. I also wanted to be more private at the time, and I definitely think that having that time off helped a lot. So when I came to you about that, I was like, let me see how she's able to do this. And also, you've been at this way longer. I'm 22, gonna be 23 this year, and you're how old?
I just turned 27. I feel ancient, but at the same time, like embracing my youth.
Embracing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, what was that like for you throughout the years, and how did you now come to the place where you're at, where you can create so consistently?
Oh, yeah, that's just such a big question. First of all, just want to affirm you're so talented, and like the stuff that you post encourages me so much, and in some ways I just wish I was you. Like you inspire me so much in your content, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. But no, it's a really good question, and like I remember being 22 and wanting to be like an authority on something, wanting to have like a really clear, consistent voice. And some people, like, you know, the Emma Chamberlains of the world, they just find that niche. But for most of us, like, we need to get trial and error experience under our belt before we sort of figure out what we actually like, figure out what experiences we've had that we can like give to others in a generous way. So for me, it was just a lot of trial and error. And I totally know what you mean about burning out on YouTube as well, because like I've had YouTube probably for 5 years or so, about the same as you. And like, because you invest so much time into the platform, oh my goodness, when you get 50 views, it's heartbreaking. It's like,
I'm like, wow, I'm just canceling my whole everything. No.
Exactly. So that has been a big challenge for me, and I'm only just kind of getting back into YouTube, so I haven't been consistent there at all. But I have been consistent on Instagram, and I think, like, long story short, a lot of that is to do with like getting like feedback from people in the comment section, and just figuring out like through trial and error what resonates with people, and just continuing to do that again and again and again. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I really relate to a lot of what you said.
Interesting. So you're saying you basically create based on the feedback that you're getting? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, for example, I'm interested in like art. I love painting and drawing and that kind of thing. But that kind of content doesn't get a whole lot of likes on my channel. What gets a lot of likes is like content around Sabbath and slow living and like personal development. And I'm really passionate about that. So I've got multi-passionate stuff that I'm posting, but I focus in on the stuff that like resonates.
I see. Okay. I think, is it kind of like how I feel like us as creatives, we kind of have to create the content that might be more engaging in order to get people to listen to the thing we really want to create.
Yeah. Oh man.
When you put so much energy into creating like a 10 to 20 minute video or something, and you post it and it literally barely gets any views. Yeah. And I feel like having that experience on top of, at the time, me not knowing what to focus on was just like, okay, this is too much. There's not enough encouragement here. I'm barely getting the views that I want, and then I also don't really know what to talk about anymore. So it's like the whole thing was too much.
Yeah, it's so much easier to be consistent with like a carousel post, which is pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. Just like a carousel every other day, which like is no small feat when you work full time, but at the same time, it's like, it's not a flippin' 20-minute video.
Exactly.
So yeah.
But also I'll say too that I love your carousels. Like, it's not just what you say and like what you create, but it's like how you say it, how you deliver your content. I just really relate to it. I don't know what it is.
It's just how we say no. That's all it is. Let's be honest.
It's the nor. Yeah, I love it.
I think you've touched on something really interesting, which is like, in what you were just saying about me, I could say the same thing about you, but like, you resonate with my content, but you stay kind of because of me. Mm-hmm. And this is a big lesson I've had to learn. Like, there's two sort of different aspects to content creation, and this is really helpful. This was so like revelatory to me when I was struggling with what kind of content to make, being multidisciplinary, like going in 100 directions. It's like, there's you and your passions and your personality and what makes you unique. And then there's the value that you give to the world. And these things are not mutually exclusive. Like, they obviously have overlap, but the thing is, you can make, you know, singing and fitness and, you know, whatever content that you have, but unless there's actually something valuable in that for the people, everyone's inherently selfish, right? We're scrolling social media for our benefit. We want to find stuff and learn stuff. Unless you're actually giving something valuable to people, it's like, you're probably not going to get much engagement. So you need to walk that line. And what I found most helpful was like, trial and error, seeing what kind of content resonated, doubling down on that, like helpful content. And then people stick around. And then you sort of have this freedom because like they get to know you a little bit, to express your personality, to post like, the fitness stuff, the art stuff, the flippin' gardening stuff, whatever you want. Right. And that kind of gets momentum that way.
Like you said, if people like the person creating the content, they develop a trust in the person, and they tend to support most of what you put out. At least that's kind of been my experience.
Yeah. It was like, so this week I had a bit of a quarter-life crisis, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting my whole life on social media. I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but oh my goodness, it just consumes my whole life. So I did a drastic thing where I decided, I was like following, this is on Instagram specifically, I was following about 1,600 people, and I literally unfollowed like 1,400 of them, nearly 1,400.
What?
I know.
That's a deep cleanse.
Thank you. I feel enlightened. I feel lighter as a person. But it was like really like, interesting to me to see like the kind of accounts that I really wanted to keep following, because the thing is, I was following probably 200 different like positive psychology, self-help kind of accounts. And the ones that I kept following are not necessarily the ones with like the best content. They're the ones that show their face that I kind of feel like I know personally. So I think when it comes to like finding your niche, being engaging, getting a following, it's like, how can you be your most authentic self and like share generously who you are, like your face, you know, I want to see your face. I want to like hear about the weird thoughts that you have. I don't know. It's just like, how can you show up authentically?
Okay, no, but that really relates to what I've been thinking recently, and like I was telling you, why I'm now able to create consistently. I feel like there's a freedom, there's a lighter weight, like you were saying. And I think a lot of it has to do with me realizing that, and I just made a reel about this on my Instagram. Oftentimes when I felt that I was in a creative rut, I wasn't necessarily in a creative rut. It was more so that I was just overthinking the content I know I really wanted to create. And that's when I realized that over the years, I've kind of discredited that in and of itself, like the thoughts that I'm having and feeling like my actual thought processes, it's not something I can actually make into content, if that makes sense. And so literally that reel was me sharing about that specific thing right there. Like I talked about how I overthink my content like that. So I feel like a lot of the times maybe like creatives try and go outside of what is natural to them, or outside of what they know they're genuinely feeling and experiencing, because they feel like it won't make good content, when it's like, no, like it's you being honest and it's you actually sharing what you're actually going through that's gonna bring longevity to your content.
100%. Like the thing is, anyone can go viral. Anyone can make a viral video, right? It's not, well, maybe it is difficult, but people do it.
People do it, right, overnight.
But then you get caught in this like weird niche, or maybe this like mentality where it's like, oh my goodness, this video I just made did super well. Now I have to make videos only along that line. And I'm like so focused on what other people are going to think of this reel or how I'm showing up or whatever. And we actually like totally neglect and forget about the fact that it's important that we actually like our own content.
That's true.
It's not sustainable if you're just making content for other people, because you get caught in this like, self-judgment, others' judgment kind of space that you were just kind of describing. So yeah, like it's easy to go viral, but it's much harder to create a sustainable creative practice and show up consistently like as yourself. Like that's, I think, the hardest thing in the world on social media, right?
It absolutely is. Like you said, when you start to get in your own head and then you start looking at what other people are creating, and I feel like there's constantly some kind of trend going on, and it's like, okay, now I have to kind of create on the trend if I want to like stay up. So I don't know, like I feel like all of that is too much for me, Maryellen. So like now I'm just doing my best to just stay consistent with the content that I genuinely feel connected to. I'm not even like looking at trends right now. I am just focusing on, okay, I'm trying to post twice a week on my Instagram feed, with whether it's reels or whatever. I'm not even gonna focus too much on like my Instagram insights right now, which I think is still important if you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
But I think everything in strides.
I love the whole conversation when it comes to creativity around kind of micro goals. I listen to a lot of podcasts about writing and about art making, and time again they say, like, if you want to write a book, you can sit and try and push yourself to write 5,000 words, but that takes like hours, and the next day you're not going to want to do that, and it's like overwhelming and stressful, and then you like lose track of where you were because it's been 2 weeks since you last wrote. Anyway, whatever. And I guess the same could be true for Instagram. You know, you're like in this really creative burst, and then suddenly you don't post for like 6 months, and it's really discouraging. Yeah. But they always say, like, rather than writing like 5,000 words in one session, just write 100 words a day and you'll have a book in like a year, right? And I think it's the same. It's literally what you're saying. I'm just focusing on like the smallest goal that I can realistically do, which is 2 reels a week, or maybe it's not that small, but you know what I mean, like a goal that I can realistically do. Don't focus on the metrics, don't focus on even like the engagement or the comments or anything like that. Just focus on showing up, and the rest kind of takes care of itself, right?
I love that. I totally agree. This is success for me right now, because I haven't been this consistent with a platform in years. I don't even know if ever. I think about fitness goals in that same light. You're starting to become consistent with working out. Like when I started back in 2017, it was not at all, it was not a habit whatsoever. It was not something that I was used to doing. And so rather than focusing on, I don't know, trying to create like some type of elite workout regimen, I was just trying to be consistent at that point. And then after I got the consistency, after I started to develop the habit, that's when I started to focus on more of the intricate details. Like, okay, now you got to focus on your form. Now you're creating specific workout goals now that you are at least working out. So that's so true. The micro goals thing, that'll keep you from burning out and becoming discouraged.
And I think just on that note as well, keeping a goal, ticking it off a list is one aspect of it, and it feels good to do that. But when you sort of frame this whole conversation around honoring yourself and actually like showing up and putting yourself first, not in like a selfish way, but just in like I actually have the capacity to do this, and I am capable, and I'm going to follow through on what I say I'm going to do. When you prove to yourself that you can do that, it's like something just flips in your brain and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like invincible. And you get so addicted to that. Like,
yes,
I don't know. It's like, it's so good.
And I don't know if you relate to this, but do you ever feel sometimes, or have you ever felt that because something didn't work before, it's just constantly in your mind, like, it won't work this time. Like, I won't be able to stay consistent this time because it's never worked. Why will it work this time?
Yes.
Battling that is another thing, but I think that's something that we have to be so aware of. That was then, and this is now, and you've learned from those mistakes, and you've learned from your inconsistency.
Yeah, perfectionism, procrastination are like the two biggest barriers I see in most creatives' lives, like exactly what you just described. But I'm curious, Evin, like what do you foresee, you know, the next little chapter of you showing up online? What does that look like for you? I know it's like 2 reels a week or whatever, but like what do you hope to bring?
So first of all, so much has changed. Yeah, I took like a 3-year break from making content online. Since then, I went through a whole process of deconstructing my faith. So whereas before I felt like I needed this level of perfection in terms of like my Christianity, like I need to be like a perfect Christian. See, now that I'm saying it out loud, it's connecting. Maybe because I achieved that balance in my relationship with God, took that pressure off, it just translated into other areas of my life. Like now I feel like I can be consistent. I don't feel as much pressure there, and I'm almost certain it has to do with my relationship, where my relationship with God is right now. How that looks in my content now is that I don't really feel the pressure to create any type of content because I'm a Christian. But maybe I want to talk about relationships, or maybe I did want to talk about a scripture, or more so just talk about my creative life. It's like I don't feel the pressure to create a certain kind of way because I'm Christian. I don't know if I'm getting that
Totally. Like, for example, I don't know, Mark Wahlberg, he's like a well-known, like, he's a Christian, he's an actor, right? It's not like he only acts in Christian films. I don't know, maybe Steph Curry is another example, although he does have like the whole shoes and Bible verses thing, but like he doesn't like preach a sermon every time he plays a game, right?
Right.
And so that's what I totally understand where you're coming from, because I had a similar experience, I think, deconstructed, like realized that my worth, my value as a human being is not dependent on my works, like as a Christian, but also like my work or how productive I am and all of that stuff. And when I was set free from that, suddenly I could show up as myself. And I can be a Christian, but that doesn't mean I have to make Christian content, right? Like I don't have to preach every time and prove that I'm like a good little Christian. So it was, I totally know where you're coming from. It's so good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. That's exactly it right there. There was a time when I was like, am I like serving God well because I'm not making worship music? Like, is that okay? Is God still gonna bless it? I specifically remember journaling about God communicating to me that, hey, look, I created you, you're connected to me. Anything you create is just gonna flow from your relationship with me, so just focus on creating good art. God is just interwoven into every part of our life, so anything that we talk about once we're connected to Him, He's gonna bless it, you know? And so I think that energy right there is what's now guiding my content. But I wanna return the question to you.
It's funny because about, I wanna say 2 years ago now, I kind of blew up on YouTube. It sounds so random, but it was like peak lockdown and like we weren't going anywhere. So I decided to do a really weird thing where I like wash my hair with things that aren't shampoo. It's like called the no poo method. So a couple of my videos went really viral and I got like so excited about it. But then suddenly I realized anyone can go viral, but I don't really want to be viral for this because now I'm the weird no poo girl and I can't talk about what I actually want to talk about. So it was like a blessing and a curse at the same time. So at the moment, like I'm showing up on Instagram pretty consistently. I'm doing that okay. But my real goal is to dive back into YouTube. And again, it's like 20 hours of editing for like 20 views, but my goal is just to show up once a week, and I've been wanting to do this. Like literally, I quit my job almost 2 years ago to be able to pursue like creative stuff like this more. But you quit your 9 to 5 and then you work 24/7. And so long story short, I'm wanting to create the YouTube videos that I always wanted to make. And it's really cool because like I'm at a stage now where I have like 3 core values around my content. And it's like creativity, slow living, like soft living, and faith. Anything around those like topics, I'm so passionate. I could talk forever about them. So yeah, that's my goal. Hopefully, fingers crossed it'll work out.
Listen, I have no doubt it's gonna work out because again, I just want to affirm you that you have it. Like that thing that draws people in and keeps people there. That is your thing. Content creating. God has blessed you. immensely in that way. So
that is so lovely. And I can say, and I know I'm like just going back and forth, so I swear I'm not just trying to like replicate, but I genuinely, like, I look at your content and I'm like, if I was as amazing as Evin 5 years ago, just imagine where I would be now. Like, you're on track, girl. You're going places. And I'm so keen to see what God does through you. So
I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Well, yeah, so thanks so much for having this conversation with me. I hope that this served as some insight or some encouragement to other people listening. Take the pressure off. Create what you genuinely feel connected to. Don't worry so much about the stats, especially if you're just trying to create the habit of being consistent. The audience that's meant for you is going to come as you are staying authentic, as you are not overthinking and falling prey to perfectionism. It really will work itself out, especially if you're connected to God. That's a bonus.
Amen. If you don't know what your niche is and you're overthinking it, just remember you are the niche. People will follow you for you, not for like how perfect your content is. So just, show up authentically. You are the niche.